Malik, how you doing?
Great, man, great. We got
All right,
we got to the
welcome again.
semifinals.
That's it. Welcome again, fans. Our continued coverage of the Champions Trophy. Welcome to all our cricket and the massive hit cricket show. It's semifinals time, Samir. Semifinals time.
Exciting games ahead the next couple of days.
All right, before we get to the semifinals, though, there was a small matter of New Zealand taking on India yesterday. Now, my pre tournament favorites, New Zealand, unfortunately, or fortunately, Samir, because at some point they say you must have a bad game.
Hey, listen, I think for India, this was a great game. They saw a bench player, Varun Chakravarti, come in and basically trigger a New Zealand collapse 133 for 3 to 205 all out. And then, obviously, from a New Zealand perspective, they saw what they see in India, which is a potential finals matchup. And at the same time, they also got a reality check that they got to really work hard here in the next couple of games if they want to lift this trophy. Once again, I think the Dubai pitch, a very spin friendly pitch, but at the same time, at the beginning of the game, Matt Henry took a lot of wickets.
Yeah.
So, once again, spin friendly, but really good bowling by Matt Henry.
Nice. No, Samir, admittedly, I didn't watch a lot of this game. I was at cricket yesterday.
Yes.
So, you're gonna have to fill me in on a lot of what
Hey,
happened
listen,
yesterday. I don't
it
talk
was
too
a
much
good
about
game. It was a
games.
good game, and
Mhm,
I think both the teams took something away from the game, right? So
mhm.
India, on a very tough track, facing a very good New Zealand attack, put up 249. Shiris Iyer got 79 of 98, so he's in the runs, and then Axar Patel also got a few runs in. So I think they must be happy with their performance. And then also remember, we talked about the bench strength, right? And that's where the Indian bench strength came in. New Zealand was cruising at 133 for 3. Mistake by Tom Latham triggered a collapse that basically you were 205 all out.
I'm sorry,
And
Samir.
Varun Chakravarti took 5 wickets.
I'm sorry, Samir. I lost it there for a quick second. So just repeat what you just said.
Yeah, so basically, India basically triggered a collapse based on their bench strength. Varun Chakravarti, who hadn't played the first few games, came in, took 5 wickets for 42. And I think Tom Latham there made a mistake. He was trying to reverse sweep Jadeja. He got out, and as soon as he got out, that was the collapse that India was looking for. So India finally won by 44 runs.
So Samir, with that performance from Varun Chakravarti, and he obviously didn't play the first couple of games, it's going to be really tough for India to leave him out going into the semifinals.
Hey, I think India is going to probably sit Harshit Rana, who's balled pretty decently in the first couple of games, and they're going to go in with, I think, 4 spinners now. And remember, they have Axer batting at number 5, so he also is a batsman and an all rounder. And then you're going to have Jadeja, Yadav, and Varun Chakravarti for this Australia game. I think it's going to be a trial by spin for the Aussies here.
You mentioned to me, Samir, in the last show that India will not want to face Australia in the semifinals, but they tried their dumb, they tried really hard to win this game.
Yeah, hey, listen, once again, I'm shocked, but at the same time, you got to understand that the only team which is dead even with India in wins and losses over the last decade is Australia.
Mhm.
Every other team, India has a winning record. Australia is the only one that they've actually lost to consistently. I think in the last 46 ODIs between the two teams, I think they're split 23 and 23. So this game is going to be a big game. Remember, the last time these two teams met was in the World Cup finals, right? And remember what happened in the World Cup finals.
Mhm. When New Zealand made that score, Samir, when India made that score, Samir, I mean, everyone thought New Zealand, again, my pre-tournament favorites, would have chased us down. I mean, New Zealand lost an early wicket, yes, but we still thought that New Zealand would have gotten this runs easily.
Hey, if you remember, I said the game's not over, right? As soon as the spinners came on, is where, New Zealand got into trouble. Once again, remember, this game didn't matter as far as the result is concerned because both the teams had qualified. But I think what New Zealand found out very importantly, is how to play in Dubai. That's number one. The pitches are different than the pitches they've encountered in Pakistan. But at the same time, I think the one thing that they're going to focus on now is Kane Williamson. I think Kane Williamson played a tad too slow in this chase. It should have never gone to this. Remember, he played very, very slow. I think he had like, what, 70, 81 of 120 balls. That is an uncane like performance. He had a lot of dot balls in that game. And I think, obviously he was trying to protect his wicket against the spinners. But I think it's usually not a good idea to soak up 120 balls and not get your side to victory.
But isn't there a side of the coin, Samir, that says time at the crease can only be good for Kane Williamson?
Oh, yes, absolutely it is. But at the same time, my point is that, hey, listen, they played very, very slowly. They were 93 for 3 in 25 overs.
Was that down to the pitch?
No, I think it was down to them being very careful against the spinners. Remember, India went in with Shami and Pandya as their pace attack, and then they had 4 spinners pretty much. And between Pandya and Shami, they balled 8 overs. That's it. Everything else was spin. So
No. Yeah, go
I think
ahead.
it's going to be very important that if New Zealand does end up facing India in the finals, Kane Williamson has to attack the spinners.
Right. No, Samir, Shreyas Iyer, he has played the short ball well this series. When he was dropped because of the way he played the short ball. And he has looked good
And
against
he
the
got
short
out
ball.
to the short ball this time.
But he got out to the short. Is that a real
Yes.
concern or is it just
No, I think, listen, it can happen to the best of players. Iyer is in very, very good nick. But once again, as I said, I think both the teams were feeling each other out, right? If they do have a rematch in the finals, basically it's a 15-round heavyweight contest, right? So every team is in the first few rounds, they're sparring, right? And that's what they were doing here. India was trying to get a feel of New Zealand. And remember, recently New Zealand swept them in a test series. And a lot of the players who were playing here were playing in the test series, right? So they do know what New Zealand is capable of.
Samir, early in the morning, um, Glenn Phillips took a screamer of a catch against Virat Kohli. Talk to me about that catch, Samir, but also, is this guy the best fielder in the world at this point?
It reminded me of Jonty Rhodes, man. Reminded me of Jonty Rhodes. What a catch. What an unbelievable catch. You know what? The look on Kohli's face
He
when
was
he got
shocked.
out was not just shocked. He couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe it. He said that this was not possible. And I think Glenn Phillips is a great, great fielder, along with a very good spin bowler and a very good batsman. But you know what? Later on in the day, I think Glenn Phillips would have been kicking himself because he got exposed against the spin. So I think Glenn Phillips will also be looking into how he can encounter, because remember, Glenn Phillips is starting to get that reputation of a Maxwell, right? Glenn Maxwell, right? His namesake. Glenn Maxwell is the same thing. He's a great fielder, a great all rounder, and probably the best closer in cricket at this point. And Phillips is following him right now.
This pitch, Samir, um, a few games have been played on it,
Yes.
at this venue. It does seem as if it's taken
A
spin
lot of
a
spin.
lot
Not,
more.
not not just taking a lot of spin. It's good. So if we pivot to the semifinal now, right, and we're going to talk about the semifinal, I think the one thing that's going to be very important to note is that this pitch is going to be the same pitch that they played the Pakistan India game on. The
Mm,
rest of the games have been played on different pitches. So the Australia India semifinal is going to be played on the same pitch that the Pakistan India game played on. And
mhm.
remember that game, the spin was even better. So I think India is definitely going in with 4 spinners. Until unless something changes, which I don't think it will, I think India is going in with 4 spinners. I think Australia has to also make adjustments because I think Matthew Shott is injured. He's no longer playing. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to try to move Inglis into the opener's role, and then they're going to try to bring in Cooper Conley, which you've mentioned before, and he's going to be balling left arm spin.
Right. Now, before we get into the semifinals, Samir, it's been really funny. And for me, over the last couple of days, I've thought about this, but South Africa flying to Dubai, waiting to see who, who won the game, and now without playing the game, Samir, they've turned around and flew back to Pakistan.
Yep, yep. They got their frequent flyer miles going here. That's what it is. But hey, listen. Now New Zealand and South Africa once again is a different story. It's probably something that we should shelve for tomorrow evening, right? What
Mhm.
we need to concentrate today, in my opinion, is Australia versus India,
Hey,
the
we're
match
shelving it.
of the Titans.
We're shelving it. I just wanted to talk about the flight back and forth.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, listen. Let's talk about it tomorrow. You know, once again, I hope they were flying business class and they got some miles in. That's the most important thing.
That is hilarious. Now, Samir, there's nothing more satisfying when hearing a big crowd go silent. Those were the words of Patrick Cummins in 2023 before Australia won the World Cup, obviously silencing the Indian crowd. Australia will be in Dubai to play India. Pat Cummins is not here, but these words, I'm pretty sure, are still there in the ears of the Indian team, the Indian fans.
Hey, listen, once again, this is going to be a home game for India, right? The Indian fans are going to pack the stadium. There might be a few Aussies here or there, but not much, right? So it's going to be a home game for India, pretty much. At least it's going to feel like one. But remember, Pat Cummins, Hazelwood, and Stark, the three nemesis of India, aren't going to be there. Remember, those three guys played a major role in
Right.
restricting India in the finals in Ahmedabad. I think the total was 240, right? I
Mhm.
think we're going to have a similar total here. The only difference will be this pitch is going to take a lot of spin. And the question will be, can Travis Head once again become that batsman that takes India out, right? I'm telling you right now, if Travis Head, and that debate is going to come up again and again and again. Remember, we had that debate with Head versus Warner? If
Yeah.
Travis Head pulls this one off, it's over. There is no debate.
Here's where I stand on this. I'm going to address this again, Samir.
I'm going to
Here's.
tell you right now. I'm telling you this again. I'm putting myself on the line here.
Mm.
If Travis Head knocks India out tomorrow, that's it. There's no debate.
I have a lot of respect for Travis Head. I think he is the hottest going around right now. I think he is the one of the best openers going around right now, if not the best.
But he's
Okay.
just hasn't done it as an opener. He's also done it in the middle order.
Yes.
Remember, in the Gavaskar Border Trophy, just recently concluded that Australia whipped India. Right? Head made a major role, and he was not opening.
Yeah. But here's the point I'm trying to make. Travis Head's peak, he's at his peak right now. And his peak, let's say Travis Head, his peak is right here. But he's done this now for the last 2 to 3 years. David Warner's peak may have been here, below Travis Head, but he did it over a decade.
No,
That's the difference.
no, no. The difference is that Travis Head has done it in big games, in big series. That's the key. Warner did it, but Warner didn't do it at this scale. This is the scale that I'm talking about. And that's why I think, listen, tomorrow I'm gonna tell you this is the reason why I felt that India wanted to avoid Australia in the semifinals, because I think Australia has nothing to lose. If Australia loses this game, remember, they already have a set of excuses ready to go, right? So they're going to be playing with house money. And I think they're going to be lose, and there's going to be no pressure on them because, listen, they don't have Pat Cummins. They don't have Mitchell Stark. They don't have Hazelwood. How many teams can say that they would make the Champions Trophy after losing their top three bowlers? Nobody would. Nobody. And Australia's here. Remember, championship DNA or not, Travis Head knocks them out tomorrow. It's game over for Warner.
Again, Travis Head, he's definitely expected to be a key figure. If he does well, Australia usually wins. We will see what happens. But that debate, Samir, will go on, for a very, very long time. We'll see. He has to do more, in my estimation, over the longevity of his career to tell me that he's up there with the greats.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. We can have a really good show on this in the future. But I think, listen, let's get back to the game, right? The game is important here. And
Mm.
I think obviously, Australia is going to be a man shot, literally. right?
Mhm.
Matthew Shot's not going to be there. So, Cooper Conley probably comes in. I think Australia is going to go with a similar, bowling lineup. And I think, they're going to move Josh Inglis into the opener role, which remember he performed that against the West Indies last year. And he was, I think, pretty successful when he did that. So that's going to be one. And then on top of it, I think India obviously has that selection dilemma, right? Do they bring in Varun Chakravarti? Who do they take off? I think they're going to take off Rana, bring in Varun, and then it's going to be pretty much the same side that they're going to play.
Now that makes sense. An extra spinner would certainly make sense for India, especially
Yep.
against the batting lineup of Australia. Now, Samir, the form guide, India, they've been winning, 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 similar to New Zealand. Australia, a win and four losses, or obviously a couple of games were washed out
Yes.
as well, but they haven't necessarily won as much as India. Again, they have the Australian Championship DNA. Do you believe that will be a factor come tomorrow in
I
Dubai?
absolutely think so. I think this is a 50-50 contest. This is a 100-over game, and the pitch is going to slow down as the day goes on. So I think obviously dew has not been an issue, right? In any of the Dubai games. I think the captain wins the toss. He wants to bat first.
Mhm.
But remember, then at the same time, we go back to the World Cup final. India won the toss, batted first, right? Or did no, Pat Cummins won the toss, balled first, when everybody
Mhm.
thought he was going to bat first, right? So who knows what happens here? But I think it's going to be a hot day. The pitch is going to spin. And I do feel that I think, India wants to bat first, put a target in, and then pressure Australia, just like they pressured New Zealand, right? I think a score of 240, 250 is par. But then, hey, listen, if they can get up to 260, 270, which they're very capable of, all of a sudden, I think India can put pressure on Australia.
All right. No, I certainly agree with that. It is definitely a 50-50 contest here. But I do think India has an advantage, especially with the spin, especially having been in Dubai for this long. They've played all their games there. They've been winning. They're confident. They've batted first. They've bowled first. So I definitely believe that India has a significant advantage.
So here is what I think is going to happen tomorrow. Okay, depending on who wins the toss. Let's say if India wins the toss, I think they're batting first. Australia wins the toss. That's where I think the debate comes in, right? What's better for them to chase or to put a target up? You've already
Mm.
seen you could score 270 against India, and India can chase it in a hurry, right? That
Mhm.
that's the thing that Australia is going to be wary of. And right now, Australia's strength is their batting, right? Because remember, they're missing all these ballers. If I had Pat Cummins on the side, I had Mitchell Stark on the side, or one of those two along with Hazelwood, it would be a different game altogether. Because remember, their experience is what counts, right? I think these new seamers between Ben Darwas, Spencer Johnson, Nathan Ellis, they're done extremely well here, but they're not tested. And I think tomorrow they're going to be tested.
I want to focus a little bit, Samir, on Rohit Sharma, who it seems like we've focused on Rohit Sharma, whether it's Test cricket, T20s, a lot for the last few months. Obviously, he's gotten a lot of criticisms. He's had some good innings. Um, what will Rohit Sharma need to produce for India over the next game or the next couple of games? And do you believe his international career potentially this could be it for Rohit Sharma?
Hey, test career is already over, right? We know that. That was a given. Remember what happened in the fifth test?
Mhm.
Remember in
We-
Australia? That was over.
mhm.
I think the ODI and the T20 career for Rohit Sharma continues.
Well, he
Um,
already retired from T20s after the World Cup.
oh, he already retired there too. You're
Yeah.
right. So he's down to this ODI
Mm.
thing, right? I think tomorrow does define to a certain extent what Rohit is going to do. I was thinking about Kohli there. Kohli's still playing T20s, right? Or is
No, no,
Kohli
they're both
retired too?
retired. No,
Also,
no.
they're both
Kohli,
gone, right?
Kohli,
Kohli's
Rohit,
still playing tests.
And Jadeja, they all
And
retired.
listen, India's in a good spot, right?
Hmm.
So, with Rohit Sharma here, my feeling is I think tomorrow's going to decide. If he can get his team to the finals, regardless of the result, I think he wants to continue. But for some reason, if India gets knocked out tomorrow, I think there's a good opportunity where Rohit says, goodbye to international cricket and focuses on franchise cricket from there on forwards, just like Mahendra Singh Dhoni did.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Mahendra Singh Dhoni also retired, I think, after the 2019 World Cup and just walked away, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a feeling here that that is a possibility that, Rohit could do that. I would love for Rohit to continue up to the 2027 World Cup in South Africa. But hey,
Mm-hmm.
listen, it's really, really far, far away, right? It's 2 years down the line. Remember, India, not only the questions are about Rohit Sharma, but they're still, hey, listen, even with that magnificent 100 the other day against Pakistan, remember, there's also that underlying belly talking about Kohli too, right? So I think it's going to be a tough moment for him, but he wants to probably go out with a bang.
Absolutely. Glenn Maxwell. What are our expectations of Glenn Maxwell? His strike rate since 2022, 141 against spinners. We expect spin to play a huge part here. Of all the batters that have scored over 200 runs against spin since 2022, though,
Hey,
his
listen,
average, which
he
is not
scored
bad
200
at
runs in one
37,
innings
is the
against
lowest.
Spin, man.
Still a strike rate of
What sort of a
141.
stat is that? What sort of a stat is that, Roger? What's going on there, man? Come on. Hey, listen, I know my viewers are always, saying that, I'm interrupting Roger here and there, but guess what? This is an interruption moment. 200 runs. The guy scored 200 against Spin in one innings.
Yeah, it's still a lot of runs.
Listen, he's probably scored 1,000 runs against Spin. He's probably Australia's best striker against Spin, right? That's the
Yeah.
bottom line. But I think Inglis is also very close. And I think
Mm,
Travis Head has also done very good against Spin, right?
mm,
So
mm.
Australia has some very good batters, and I think they're going to do well. But I think the key for Maxwell tomorrow is going to be the circumstances that he shows up in, right? He shows up, he needs to chase 150 in 20 overs. That's not happening against those Indian spinners. I think he needs to get in when there's 60 to 70 runs required, or at the same time he needs to get in the 38th over, 40th over, and he can really go for a blast and give Australia a big total to defend. Right? Those are going to be the two places where I think Maxwell can do very well in tomorrow's game. I don't think this is Afghanistan that Maxwell can bully these spinners.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think against these Indian spinners, you don't want to give Maxwell a lot of time. If Maxwell is coming in to bat, either in a chase or batting first in the 25th to 30th over, expect Australia to be in trouble.
I don't see Maxwell, to be honest with you, having a huge impact against the spin of India. I think you're right there. But I mean, having said that, I do believe Afghanistan spinners are actually better than India spinners.
And that's what I'm saying. I think, hey, listen, once again, that's what I'm saying, that I think, what Maxwell did against Afghanistan, he's not going to be able to do against India because of the psychology, right?
Yeah.
India, even though might have the same spin attack that Afghanistan has, India just has that edge, right? The mental edge that you're talking about. Once again, to be honest, this matchup is Australian DNA, to be honest, against Indian DNA at this point, right? That's what it is.
Mhm.
Remember, India
Yeah.
won the T20 World Cup, Australia won the One Day World Cup. They're both reigning champs right at this point. So you got two champs who are going to go against each other at this point. And whoever comes up on top, I'm going to probably say, I'm going to go to the extent, even though I'm not writing off New Zealand and South Africa, I think both of those teams are championship units. I do believe that whoever wins this probably ends up winning the cup.
Well, for me, the winner of this tournament comes from the next semifinal. As we know, New Zealand,
Which is
my
very possible.
pre-tournament favorites. South Africa, if for some reason New Zealand loses to South Africa, I think they're a quality team, and it would be good to see them lifting some sort of
Absolutely.
ICC silverware.
As
Having
I
said
said, hey,
that, though,
listen, there's no loser in this situation.
there's
Any
none.
of these teams wins, it's a great thing for the Champions Trophy.
Mhm.
And you got to remember, once again, the Champions Trophy is probably a much tougher, you know, tournament compared to even the World Cup. Because, like, at least in the World Cup, you get like 5 to 6 games, right? You know,
Mhm.
I think here you're getting like 3 games, and there you're immediately into the knockout. There is no mistakes that you can make. One team makes a mistake, you see where they land, right? Look at what happened to New Zealand. New Zealand yesterday, Tom Latham made that one small mistake and it opened the door to India winning the game, right?
Yeah, no, certainly. As you said, it's Australian DNA versus Indian DNA. India is an absolutely fantastic outfit as well. But India has two or three teams, Samir, that they could put in this World
Yes.
Cup. They will probably do well.
And hey, listen, once again, if you look at where India is at this point, once again, the discussion that we were having, where, once again, hey, listen,
Mhm.
Rohit and Kohli have played so well that I keep forgetting that Rohit is no longer even a test player or a T20 player. It's just shocking to me because the guy plays so well, right? And Kohli, the same thing. Kohli has been scoring hundreds on
Mhm.
hundreds, right? Once
Mhm.
again, it's just so tough for India to just sit there with these guys and say, hey, listen, when are these guys going to go away? So we have the new batch coming in, right? Remember, hey, listen, Jaswal, excellent talent sitting on the bench, right?
Yeah.
Probably Jaswal would walk into any other team if it wasn't the Indian team, right?
Did you say probably?
Probably, yeah. Hey, listen, if he
What do you mean
wasn't, if
probably? He would.
he would, right? That's what I'm saying. Hey,
Yes,
listen,
he
once
would.
again, what I'm saying is even in an Australian team, he would be a first selection, right?
Mhm.
In India, because you have Rohit Sharma and you have Kohli, Jaswal's got to sit the bench, right? That's what it is. I think he's there in Dubai, but he's sitting the bench. Listen, I don't think Rohit Sharma is playing beyond this tournament, to be honest, but I would love for him to continue playing. But listen, at 38 years old, he's going to be 40 when the next World Cup happens
Yeah.
in South Africa in 2027. I don't think it's happening. But I'm going to tell you this. Remember, we talk about Kohli as the GOAT of ODI cricket, at least in the current generation. Rohit Sharma probably is very close to Kohli if we have to talk about ODI performances. And I think he's had individual games where he's outclassed even Kohli. Especially remember that 264? I think that was against Australia, right?
Hmm.
What a classy game that was, right? I think the double hundreds, how many double hundreds does he have? Two or three?
Free.
Man, that's listen, once again, that is something that is unimaginable in my opinion.
No,
So
Samir, again, I mean, I know that Sharma's average is around 49, somewhere there, but I agree with you. He is in that conversation. I think
no, I'm
Kohli's a
not saying.
GOAT.
Listen, once again, I'm not comparing him to Kohli. All I'm saying is he's very close to Kohli
Yeah,
as
yeah.
far as being one of the greatest ODI batsmen of this generation.
He can be
And then I'm
compared.
going to tell you this. I'm going to go one step further. Probably the best batsman as captain in ODI cricket.
In terms of impact on the game, and he's an
Yep.
impactful player. He's made 200 three times. Obviously, he's in that conversation. He's made 400s in a World Cup. So he's in the conversation. Kohli has scored more runs. Kohli has scored more hundreds. Kohli averages close to 60, but they're different players, Samir. Kohli is more an accumulator who bats through the innings.
Yes. But
Um,
but you will be
well,
surprised by the amount of runs he scored as captain, right? That's the key.
mhm,
Once
mhm.
again, scoring and then scoring at a high strike rate. That's
High
another
strike
thing
rate.
that hey,
Yes.
listen, I think he's probably, in a strike rate conversation, I've never seen anybody this impactful. And remember, he sets up, remember a lot of uh, Kohli's knocks have followed Rohit Sharma's blitz at the open, right? If
Mhm.
Rohit Sharma wasn't blitzing, he probably scores that 100, right? But the blitz is the reason why Kohli can do what he can do. Kohli goes in there, the score is already 60, 70 runs in 8 overs or 7 overs, and then, Kohli can do his Kohli things, right? That's what it is. But remember, in ODI cricket, he has 32 hundreds. Once again, that is a fantastic achievement for somebody who actually is very underrated.
No, absolutely. Hey, that's a discussion we can have another time. They're
Yeah,
both
yeah,
great in their
absolutely.
own.
I'm just listen. I'm just pointing it out to our
Yeah.
viewers that hey, listen, you have somebody that you should be cherishing tomorrow morning, watching him. Hey, listen,
Mhm.
regardless of who I feel is going to win the game or lose the game. In this case, it's 50-50. Every time I watch Rohit Sharma and Kohli bat, I'm cherishing those moments because hey, listen, even though they're two different styles, the one thing that they do once again, which I always emphasize on, they score runs.
And we entertain.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, listen, when are you going to find a guy like Rohit Sharma again is going to be the question. I think India has some great talent, but I don't think India is going to find another Rohit Sharma ever again.
Finally, Samir, your prediction.
Hey, listen, this is the hardest game that I got to go with. I'm going to go with India just because, once again, I think India has the advantage of playing in Dubai. I think Australia is very close. If if I have to give the edge, it's to India, but it's by the bleakest margins. I think 50.00001% India, 49.99999 goes to Australia.
Bleakest of margins, says Samir. Ian Smith in 2019, after the World Cup, said England won by the barest of margins versus New Zealand. India has lost 13 tosses. The last 13 tosses, India has lost, but it has not affected the results of their games. They obviously have not lost these games. Samir thinks India by the blinkest. Is that the word you use? Blinkest?
Bleakest.
Bleakest.
Yep.
The bleakest of margin. I
Hey,
reckon.
listen, here's
I
what I'm going to
reckon.
tell you, Roger. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Tomorrow is a must watch game. If you are
Oh,
not up in the US at 4
mhm.
a.m. in the morning to watch this game, you shouldn't be watching cricket, my friends.
I absolutely agree with that. But for me, my prediction also India to take this one, but by a little bit more than the bleakest
And
of
listen, I think
margins.
the scores might not reflect it, but these teams, it's the edge, right? So
Yeah.
you could have India winning by maybe 50 runs or 60 runs, but it's not going to be that much of a distance between the two teams because it might be a question of how Travis Head gets out, or Inglis gets out, or Smith gets out, and that changes the game. Like yesterday, how Tom Latham got out and then India won the game, it's going to be the same way. On the Indian side, it's going to be the same thing. It's not as if India is going to blitz to victory, but they're going to do the right things at the right times. And then I think Australia at the same time, could take this game because both of them have match winners. And they don't only have one match winner each, they have multiple match winners.
All right, fans, there you have it. Much must watch mouth watering contest tomorrow morning, 4 a.m. Favorites, India, slight favorites, will take on Australia in Champions Trophy action. Samir and I, as always, will be here again tomorrow after the game to talk about who will make it or who made it to the finals. Again,
Hit that
all your
music,
cricket.
man. Hit that music.
All right, all your cricket and massive hit. Bye for now.